Hey, Mystic Magic podcasters, we're in for another great show. This is really special because we have the special guest, Abigail Schairer, on today. And we are going to be talking about freedom. So, Mystic Magic, this is where we explore spirit to understand our lives. I want to tell you a little bit about Abigail. She grew up in New Mexico, went to high school there. She somehow made it to California. We'll figure that out a little later. She was working at Stanford for several years from about 2003 to 2012. She graduated from Ministerial School, Holmes Institute, in 2011, and she went right to becoming the senior minister at the Center for Spiritual Living in Peninsula. After spending a little time there, in 2018, she became an associate minister at the Center for Spiritual Living in Seattle. And Abigail has been busy the whole time. We knew that she was on fire for spirit and she was about doing things. She's been working with women. She's been working with young adults. She helped to anchor the Next Gen movement, which is the young adult movement in the Centers for Spiritual Living. And she's rocking and rolling. Hey, welcome, Abigail. Welcome to Mystic Magic.
Oh, thank you. It's an honor and a privilege to be here. Wow, what a lovely introduction. I really appreciate that. It's very sweet.
Oh, yeah, I know it could be even sweeter because there's a lot more to you. Now, we're talking about freedom now. I just want to know, what does this freedom mean to you anyway? Because freedom is a divine quality. And yet it doesn't seem to feel very free right now. Maybe we're finding ourselves in the process, but, there's a little bit of restriction we're feeling right in through here. But hey, what are your thoughts about freedom?
I think it's multi-layered. You're right. I do know freedom is our divine birthright. That's God, spirit, source, universe, whatever you may call it, is here to fully express freely its divine nature in and through each and every one of us. And so I have an opportunity to tap into that divine freedom and really live it in my life. And so that can be a spiritual experience, and it can be a mental experience, and it can be a physical experience. So there's kind of multi-layers going on at the same time.
Sure.
So I might be, experiencing freedom in my mind, but not physically in my body.
How about during this pandemic?
Yeah. So I've been at home for quite a while now.
Because Seattle was the first place hit, right?
Yeah.
And now I know why. I've been listening to this doctor, and because of the heavy air pollution and because of all of the poison in the agriculture that is at heights, it was predicted a year ago that it would be in Wuhan, China. And so where it's coming is those places that have a combination of both high pollution and a lot of chemicals in the agriculture because the biodiversity is off. But I didn't understand that because there's a lot of rain in Seattle, so I didn't understand how come it wasn't washing it away.
Right.
But yeah, so you've been home longer than most of us. What's that been like?
If for an extrovert, it's a little driving me stir crazy. And I am very fortunate and blessed. So while I just think I'm living a little north of Seattle in a town called Mount Lake Terrace, and it's more spread out, and there's a park nearby. And by the way, because I grew up in New Mexico and California, like my vision of a park is like a big grassy knoll area. And this park is a forest with a stream running through it. And it's like right in the middle of my city. I was like, what? Parks can be like this? So, it's really beautiful. I get the opportunity where I can go walk and be in nature and be in a city that's not so densely populated, where I feel like I still have freedom. So, and I do that almost every day. It causes my soul to feel healed, to go and, hug a tree or look at the water, or, listen to the birds. And some people are not so fortunate. I feel very blessed, and I feel very lucky, and I know that I'm privileged because where I'm living right now, and I could be in in a high-rise apartment building in the middle of Seattle, or, you know, there's places, you know, in New York and Chicago where there's densely populated areas, and people, they're staying home because they're trying to save other people's lives, and they don't have that privilege that I have. And so I just want to acknowledge that I'm so grateful. And I also want to send love out to everybody who's doing this in a much harder way than I am.
Yeah.
You know, they're really stepping into being limited in because they want to save people's lives, and they don't have the freedom to go out and just be in the fresh air like I do. So
how did you first come to know that your soul could choose to accept freedom?
You know, I have to say, I think that's part of my birth, right? Like, there's some things that some of us know intrinsically. I think there's a lot we know intrinsically, and then we're kind of taught out of it.
Yes.
My mom was born on the 4th of July. She's a 4th of July baby. And she's always been kind of a person who's been a big fan of freedom.
Good.
And encouraged me to freely express myself exactly as I am. And so I was so lucky to have a parentage that really encouraged my intrinsic birthright of being authentic. And I'm different than I guess everybody's different than everybody, but
sure. Thank God.
I'm a little quirky, weird, right? And instead of being shamed about it, I was more encouraged to express my difference, and I'm super grateful for that. So I think that, like I said, I think everybody, they're born with all these kind of essential natures: creative expression, freedom, power, love. Like, all of those are intrinsic to humans, to who we are on this planet, and they're either kind of like taught out of us, or there's belief systems that are implemented that prevent us from fully feeling and expressing who we truly are on this planet with each other.
Right.
And I was fortunate enough to not have a lot of that in my growing up years. So
I was surprised to see Stanford come up, and then I was even further surprised to see that you're working in development and marketing. Now, I know you're a great marketer, but how did you go from development and marketing into ministry?
Well, I wanted to be a minister when I first walked into my Center for Spiritual Living in San Jose. The first time I walked in there, it was in 2000. I had just moved to California, and I discovered the Center for Spiritual Living, San Jose. And I in my foundations class, I had claimed that I was going to be a minister, but it was like like when I'm like 60, when most people, especially in Centers for Spiritual Living, become ministers, like as a second career, that's when I thought it was going to happen. So I really didn't know it was going to happen so fast. But the universe had other plans for me.
Yes.
So I was going, I was going in ministerial school while I was working. I actually, my boss knew what I was up to in ministerial school, and Stanford really supports advanced degrees that help support your work. And so she approved my getting my school paid for by Stanford to
Wonderful.
help me in my current job, because she's like, what you're doing is totally helping you in your current job and being a better marketer, being a better development person, communicating with people, being able to tell their stories, and so she actually, I was a beneficiary of Stanford's investment in their people, and they really, I love working at Stanford. They invest in their employees in such a great way. I cannot sing their praises enough. It's so good.
That's good to know. Yeah. So let's look at you as a young adult now. We're talking about freedom. Your mother was born on the 4th of July. Is our country living up to its promise of freedom?
Absolutely not.
Of course not.
You know, for those of you out there, Celeste sent me some of these questions in advance, and because you sent me that question, I went ahead and I talk about the Declaration of Independence and like what an inspired document it is, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go reread it because I feel like I read it like 10 years ago, and now that I've reread it, I'm like, I don't think I read it before. And it's fascinating because it does have there's some really, right at the beginning, there's this like really inspired line that every man has the right to the, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And I really love that. And of course, as our country, we've translated that now to not man, but person. Yes. And at the time it was written, when it was like white men who were slave owners, who were, the women were not even a part of that equation. Black people were definitely not a part of that equation,
right.
And so the underlying idea when they were removing themselves from British rule was that there was all these laws that were imposing their freedom of expression, and it had to do with immigrants. It had to do with the way they wanted to do their religious belief systems. It had to do with trying to tell them how to behave and how to act. And so I feel like it was a really inspired idea. But some of the things that they complained about, I want to say complained, but they justified their reason to become independent from this king, or from Britain's rule, are some of the things that our government is doing today.
Yes. King George all over again.
Yes. And I was like, oh my God, we're doing it again. And they were like, we're leaving you because you're treating people this way. And now it's like, well, now we're treating people this way.
Yes. Yes.
So no, it's not, it's better than it used to be. There's more freedoms than there were way back then for people, but it's not the dream yet.
Well, yeah, because democracy is by the people, and it's been because of the people insisting on these things coming into pass, whether it was civil rights for Black people, or gay right to marry, or women's rights, or whatever it was. And there's a Women's Declaration of Independence, right?
No, I didn't.
Oh yeah. There's a New Thought person who actually penned it. I'll send it to you so that you can familiarize yourself with it. They just kind of like balanced out all of the pronouns, gender stuff.
I love it.
So talk to me while we're talking about freedom, about what you've been doing around the young adults in the spiritual movement, particularly within Centers for Spiritual Living.
So I founded a retreat called the Next Gen Retreat, and partly because I knew there's an age that needs to be nurtured, and there's some things that we can do to nurture this age group right when you're coming out of high school and you're in college, or you've just graduated college. There's those like really prime years, new parents, yes, where the foundations of how we live our life are really built on. And I really wanted to create something that would be taught by inspiring individuals who are in the age group, which is what we're calling 18 to 35-ish. Mm-hmm. And so there's leaders in the age group who are teaching things like financial freedom, how to become, financially abundant, how to have relationships that are healthy and well,
important stuff.
Yeah, how to be leaders in whatever field you're in. If you're a yoga teacher, how to be a leader in yoga teachers. If you're a writer, how to be a leader in writers. And so in order to become the example of possibility for the world. And then the other thing that we're also very invested in is social justice and social engagement, because I believe a lot of our millennials, and now Gen Z is starting to get into that age group too, are invested in the healing of our planet, in finding ways that we can live as a human world in a way that benefits everybody, and at the same time don't necessarily get that education anywhere else unless somebody, you know, goes
Right.
into kind of like civic work or social justice work. So I had the opportunity to create this retreat, and it is so inspiring. One thing I love about individuals who are, you know, 18 to 35 is very, especially when they're like, already, I'm into my spiritual life. I'm into, you know,
Yeah.
connecting with my divine self. And maybe they've been doing it for years. They're so willing to go deep and to do the hard work, like right away. And there's so much less of a history of all the crap that's gone on in their lives, right?
Mm-hmm.
That happens as we get older. And so the transformation that happens at the retreat is like, oh my God, it's amazing. It's so good.
Yeah.
So I'm really inspired by everybody who's willing to step into coming to the Next Gen retreat, and the leaders who step in and co-lead it with me. They do a great job.
So how does freedom come to the forefront in those retreats? How do you unleash or give people permission to be free, or is the environment set up in a way that they can be free?
Yeah, well, there's a couple of things. One thing that I think is key is agreements. And so I'm not like a person who, and I do this in all of my areas, my classes, my workshops, my retreats, where I impose like, these are the rules. Instead, it's like, we're all adults, we're coming together, let's create agreements so that we can have a framework of safety to interact.
Yes.
And then how do we behave with each other if somebody's forgotten their agreement, you know? And so we make these, that we have these conversations right at the get-go to create a container of safety. And I'm not attached to what those agreements are, you know, like I don't know what they are, you know. For Next Gen retreat, we have, you know, non-gender bathrooms. And then there's a whole bunch of agreements around that. What does that mean? Is that okay? Is that safe? Is that not safe? We have people who are transgender or gender fluid, and you know, how do we behave? How do, you know, what happens if somebody says the wrong pronoun? Or, so we have these kind of ways that we can behave with each other, and then everybody agrees, so there's safety. Then the second thing that's super important is we encourage people to show up as their authentic self, and we assume the best of everybody. Yeah. And the third thing that also is super important is we give people permission to take care of themselves. Like, yeah. You don't want to come to the sessions? Don't come to the sessions. You want to go out in the mountain and just like walk in nature all day? Do it. Like, really, like, this is a retreat, and yeah, we have an educational plan and we have intentions for you, but you have the freedom to choose what you want to do, when you want to do it, what degree you want to participate in, if you want to pass or not, you know. So there's really the freedom to just, you know, relax into it and feel safe and enjoy yourself, you know. Yes. Just really enjoy what we have to offer. So
that's wonderful. Now, we're in this thing called religious science, and our form of treatment is spiritual mind treatment. So let's look at that. Like, for me, freedom comes in the unification step of treatment. How does freedom show up in your treatments for you? When do you start feeling connected, or when do you start feeling like you having a new awareness?
I think I honestly, like, the first step is really where I get there. And I usually, I'm very talkative, and I have long prayers, long affirmative prayers. And so I kind of wax on about the amazingness of the universe, and wait until I can get to that space. And really, I guess what it is, you know, the transition from the infinite into pulling it into me. So that's exactly what you're saying. The unification is really getting to the feeling tone of what it feels like to be infinite, of what it feels like to be free, of what it feels like to not have limitations in my life, and really getting into my sense of that, and then pulling that into like what that's like for me in my body, what that's like for me as a person.
Cool.
So I guess it's a both and. It's like I get into that space, and then but I'm already in the space of feeling it for me.
Yeah. Yes.
And then I go into the unification step.
Well, I don't know if some of the listeners understand what a spiritual mind treatment is. Would you mind doing a shorter version of a freedom treatment for the world?
Yeah. Oh, I'd love to do that. Sure. So recognizing that there is one spirit, one source, one God, one universe. It's the quantum field. It's the infinite everything. And just in the word infinite means there is no boundaries. It is absolutely free. Its nature is love. And I recognize and know that the infinite nature of love permeates everything. Everything is made of this love stuff. And in that everything, we all lie. I lie, Celeste lies, the earth lies. And it's bigger and more vast than any of us can ever imagine. And I recognize and know that we exist in this being, in this expression of love, in this expression of freedom. And so I know and claim that any obstacles that I have perceived as limitations in my life to freedom, I just destroy and uncreate them. And I know that what springs forth is an absolute realization right here and right now, that I am a part of the infinite creation of the universe. And so I play my part. I play my own unique experience and expression. And I know that each and every person does as well. And so I know and claim that there is an infinite unfolding of this freedom, a self-seeking self, right here and right now, seeking the highest version of itself, interplaying in and through me, interplaying in and through Celeste, interplaying in and through this entire planet. And so I just know that this is the nature of God, of source, of spirit. And as I claim this truth, I know and claim that it unfolds in ways that inspire, that motivate, that cause me to step into the realization of what this looks like as a world that works for everyone. I'm so grateful to surrender my little idea and to open to and receive a much grander, bigger idea for each and every one of us listening to this. I'm so grateful to know that it's already done. The path is already here. The idea is already present. And so I just step into the fulfillment of it right here and now. I claim it for myself and I claim it for everyone listening. I'm so grateful to feel this truth and to know that it informs me. The love in form is happening in and through me right now. And so as I claim that truth, I release this prayer, knowing that the infinite great creator, God itself, is already in action upon these very words. And so I just release it and witness it and become the fulfillment of it right here and right now. And for that, I'm grateful. And so it is.
And so it is. Amen. Ashe. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here, and I really appreciated that treatment. I wasn't even prepared for that. I just thought it would be a good thing to do. Before you go, what do you want to promote? You got your retreats, you got Center for Spiritual Living Seattle. What would you like for our audience to know to participate in, whether it's online or however?
Well, definitely, I'm doing things online. I'm speaking Sunday mornings and Sunday evenings, alternating with Reverend Kathy Ann at Center for Spiritual Living, which is spiritualliving.org, and you can find us at 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock Pacific time, or 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and doing that, you know, sometimes evenings, sometimes mornings. And I'm teaching classes online. I do a lot of classes. We're really tapping into our global audience, and I'm really invested in creating ways that people can step into their freedom and really feel free in their lives. So lots of classes, lots of workshops I'm always producing. You can find me on Facebook And you can find me on Twitter under Rev Abigail. And I also, the Next Gen Retreat, if you're in the age group, nextgenretreat.org, we're going to be doing an online thing in July. We haven't really announced it yet because we're still putting it together, but that's up and coming. So if you can tune into our website there, nextgenretreat.org. And then I also do Sister Spirit, sisterspiritretreat.org. So I'd love to connect with everybody out there. I'm inspired by the goodness that is unfolding in this world right now. And I want to participate and co-create with everybody in making this a world that works for everyone. So
great.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I knew you'd have a bunch of stuff to share. And this is airing in July, so we'll make sure that everybody goes to spiritualliving.org to get that date right away. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for being here. Appreciate you. I know who you are, and I love it. This is Mystic Magic, exploring our spirit to understand our lives.